this government has failed because my economic situation is worse. It's worse off now than it was before they came in. The economy does not exist in a vacuum. National economy, the economic well-being of the people can be assessed by how far it impacts on the lives and well-being of the people. You may beat your chest that you are doing well in economy, but if it is not reflected in the well-being and welfare, standard of living, the health situation, availability of infrastructure and health infrastructure, then you are just bragging in the vacuum. It doesn't, it's a mirage. The primary purpose of government, Sheun, is the welfare and security of the people. It's fundamental. Whatever any government is doing, it must keep its focus on the welfare and security of the people. Take the issues that you talked about. The economy, managing of the economy. Has it impacted positively or negatively on the welfare of the people of Nigeria? What is the point? Taking pride in unification of exchange rates or some of those things that you described when it is impacting negatively on the people and giving the impression that the government is really not interested in the welfare of the citizens, but the welfare of a select few elite that benefit from the policies that you talked about. Those policies, do they benefit you as a person? Because for me, they do not benefit me as a Nigerian. There are people who may be benefiting, but they are an insignificant minority in Nigeria. One of the major problems with the APC government in particular these days is that rhetorics differ from reality. What they say is really borne out by reality. You know, I was listening to speeches being made, and I think Nigerians have come to understand that you shouldn't believe these people, because even what they are saying, they themselves don't believe in what they are saying. I campaigned vigorously for the president at that time, the presidential candidate as an APC member, but I increasingly saw that this was not what I expected from the president I worked for. Well, first of all, is the complete lack of internal democracy, complete lack of respect for due process, complete disdain from constitutional and legal provisions. To them, these things don't matter. And I am trained, I'm a lawyer, I'm a professor of law, and I have attained the position that God has enabled me to attain, believing that laws matter, believing that rules and regulations matter, that societies progress if they stick to the rule of law, because the whole essence of the rule of law is to separate human beings for animals living in the state of nature. You know, human beings are governed by rules, and that makes us different from animals in the jungle. But where you find human beings beginning to behave as if laws don't matter, they are dispensable. Some people give up on Nigeria, that Nigeria cannot get better. But I don't buy that argument. I don't agree. I believe that when, by the grace of God, we get a good leader, we will see a massive transformation. And there are examples to talk about in other countries. People talk about Singapore. Singapore was a poor, wretched country, almost at par with Nigeria, but it took the emergence of a leader, Lee Kuan Yew, to transform Singapore. But
the President Tinubu, those who are close to him, said he wants to be the Lee Kuan Yew of Nigeria. he wants to be the revolutionary leader. And he said that he's on that trajectory to changing things with a tough policy and tough decision, that at the end of the day, he doesn't want to be the leader who kick the can down the road, and at the end of the day finds out that we are in deeper trouble. He wants to make the tough decision, albeit painful and unpopular.
A fundamental truth that the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria guarantees freedom of association, freedom to associate and freedom not to associate. So if you start off associating with people, and along the way you get to know that you don't really blend with these people, the Constitution guarantees you the freedom to not to associate with them anymore. And that exactly is what happened with APC. You will recall that I participated in the governorship primaries, which took place in 2014, February, but it was a charade. And even thereafter, subsequent events playing out indicated to me that I didn't belong to that group of people, because their values, what they represented, what they stood for, were so different from my own personal values. So I decided to leave them.
Everything starts and ends with government policies in Nigeria. Everything. The quality of life, how rich or how poor we are in Nigeria, starts and ends with government policies. Whether there will be jobs, whether people will live in good health, it starts and ends with government policies. So if we want to solve the problem of unemployment in Nigeria, government policies. If we want to stop the injustice, corruption, government policies. If we want to go from consumption to production, government policies. I am personally sad when I see people blame the devil for the problems that they have in their lives and then hope that God is the solution when actually government policy is responsible for such problems, and only government policies can solve those problems for them. What are those problems? When people go to church or go to mosque to pray, they pray to God. They pray to God for safety because there's so much insecurity in Nigeria today. They pray to God for a job, for employment, because there's so much joblessness and unemployment. They pray to God for health, because there's so much ill health, so much sickness in Nigeria today. They pray to God for wealth, for money, for riches, because there's so much poverty in Nigeria today. And it saddens me because we blame the devil for the sickness, we blame the devil for the poverty, we blame the devil for unemployment, we blame the devil for everything. Somebody wants to travel from Abuja to the east, Lagos to Abuja. They are afraid to travel by road. So when they have no choice, they cannot buy flight ticket. They have to travel by road. What do? They will say a lot of prayer. They will first of all go and see their spiritual leaders for spiritual blessing. They're praying that, they go and come back safely. They are praying against accident. They are praying against kidnappers and bandits. Is the devil responsible for kidnappers? Is the devil responsible for accident that could be caused by bad roads and bad drivers? Is the devil responsible for joblessness and unemployment? Is the devil responsible for poverty? Everything starts and ends with government policies. The insecurity that we have, government policies, not the devil. The joblessness and poverty and hunger that is in the land that we have, is it the devil that caused it? Government policies. The problems that people have, even in their personal life. Today, the preponderance of opinion is that the youths are lazy. Is that caused by the devil? No. Government policies. Somebody asked me the other time, how can I say government policy is responsible for the laziness of the youths? Government policy is. If a government has a policy of corruption, what will happen? Youths will be corrupt, because Donald Trump said it. In societies where bandits are the heroes, children want to become bandits. People want to go where they are celebrated, not tolerated. If the policy is for you to be rich, you have to twerk, on TikTok, every youth will want to twerk on TikTok. If the policy is social media is there for distraction, youth will be distracted. If the policy is for you to be a youth and get out of poverty, your best chance is Yahoo Yahoo, or your best chance is hook up. If the policy is, oh, hard work doesn't pay, for you to become rich, you need to be a political thug. If that is the policy like we have it in Nigeria today, why do you think the youth will not be lazy? Compare that with the policy in a place like China, where social media access is restricted and youths are encouraged to create and make things more. Not even just youth, even children. What do you see? China is the production capital of the world. China was able to take over 1 billion people out of poverty within a very short time. Today, China has less people living in multidimensional poverty than Nigeria, despite having 7 times the population of Nigeria. China is 1.4 billion people. Nigeria is 220 million people. Yet, we have more poor people than China. Why? Government policies. A lot of these things that you and I go to church, go to mosque to pray for, it is not the devil that caused them. Government policies. You have 35-year-old girls, 40-year-old guys that are not married today. They are looking for husband. They are looking for wife. They don't get. And they go to church to pray. And somehow they are made to believe that the devil is responsible for their not being married. Is it really the devil? Or is it bad government policy that makes for bad economy? And so people that are supposed to be married at age 20, at age 25, they continue to hustle. You know what they call the rat race. They continue to hustle. They are 40. They have still not made substantial money to get married, to sustain a family. And so there are so many young men, so many young women, but no marriageable partner. Everything starts and ends with government policy. A man marries at age 45, marries a woman at age 40, and then they wait for another 10 years, they can't get pregnant. And then they are blaming the devil. They are praying for God to help them to get pregnant, forgetting that the fact that they waited so late to get married will reduce their chances of getting pregnant because of several factors, natural factors. But instead of blaming the government policies that made them wait late to get married, they are blaming the devil and they are thinking that God is a solution. Everything starts and ends with government policy. The problems that Nigerians are facing today, caused by the bad policies of the government of the day. Fuel is selling for 1,400 naira per litre, 1,350 naira per litre. Not because of the devil. Government policies. Today, many people try to explain it away that, oh, it is because of the international price of a barrel of crude oil that has gone up because of the US and Israeli attack on Iran, the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. That is why the price of the price per barrel of crude oil has gone up, and because we still, Dangote refinery still buys crude in international price. That's why he has to sell to us at increased cost. All of this is as a result of terrible, satanic, and poor government policies. And prayer will not get us out of this. Only decision can. A decision to make sure that government officials that come up with terrible government policies and go ahead to implement them, even when they know that such policies are punishing Nigerians, such government officials should be removed from office through elections. But no, the Nigerians that are made to suffer under these harsh government policies, they leave the people in government, they leave the people that caused this hardship through the implementation of these terrible government policies, and they blame the devil. They leave the people that could make their lives better, and they trust God. And they keep trusting God. And they have been trusting God for 50 years now, for 60 years now. And instead of getting solutions, Nigeria continues to slip down further and further into more hardship, more hunger, more poverty, more joblessness, more sickness. And they still cannot see that they are blaming the wrong person or expecting help from the wrong person. That it is bad government policies that is responsible. And their solution actually rests in changing, pushing out those bad government officials. Everything starts and ends with government policies. The reason why America is better than Nigeria, government policies. The reason why Nigeria is a consumption economy and America is a production economy. China is a production economy. Russia is a production economy. The EU, production economy. The reason why this happens, government policies. If Tinubu were honest and sincere enough and cares for the people enough, fuel will be selling for between 300 and 400 naira per liter today in Nigeria, despite the war in Iran, despite the war in, what is it called? Ukraine. Because you would have taken care of the corruption in Nigeria's oil and gas sector. Nigeria extracts 1.8 million barrels of crude oil every day. 1.8 million barrels of crude oil. Dangote refinery only needs 400,000 barrels of crude oil to refine all the petrol that we need. And if Nigeria has crude oil, it belongs to us. And the Nigerian government, led by Tinubu, puts a policy in place such that you take that 400,000 barrels of crude oil out of the 1.8 million barrels that Nigeria extracts every day and gives it to Dangote refineries on a partnership basis. Dangote refineries doesn't need to pay the Nigerian government through NNPC if the policies are right. And then Dangote refines the petrol, gives petrol back to NNPC. All happening within Nigeria. All happening within Nigeria. You talk of, oh, there's no pipeline to transfer the crude oil to this. Oh, the crude oil is already being used to collect loans in forward sales agreement. All of those happened because of bad government policies. Project Gazelle, Project Ego, Project this, Project that the NNPC entered into without National Assembly approval are all projects that were designed within the NNPC, hosted outside there in the Bahamas, to take Nigeria's money, put it and hide it there without hitting the Federation account. A government policy, the right government policy, would expose that corruption and prevent it, such that the 272,000 barrels of crude oil that leave Nigeria every day to service Project Gazelle, Project Ego, those crude oil will be part of 350,000 barrels or 400,000 barrels of crude oil that we will give to Dangote on a daily basis. And he will refine petrol for us free of charge. He will take the other distillates, right, as his payment to recoup his cost. Win-win. Which means that we can take our crude oil, remove 400,000 barrels of crude oil per day from it, sell the remaining 1.4 million barrels of crude oil, take that 400,000 barrels, give it to Dangote in a partnership, DSDP, oil processing agreement kind of arrangement with Dangote. And even our own NNPC will use their own shipping company to ship. So we don't have to pay any external force in any foreign currency. Our insurance companies will be shored up to handle the stuff because it's within here. And then Nigerians can buy fuel at 300 naira, 400 naira per liter. And still be making money from 1.4 million barrels. And what stops us from even going to 2 million barrels, to 2.5 million barrels? Oh, you say OPEC quota. Why should we even remain in OPEC? What is the advantage that Nigeria gets from being part of OPEC? All of this boils down to government policies. The people in government, are they implementing these government policies to make lives better for Nigerians? The answer is under the current Tinubu administration of the APC. The answer is no. So they come up with all manner of stories and propaganda to tell you that, oh, there is a justifiable reason why Nigeria cannot give crude oil to Dangote refinery. You say what? What justify the monies they collected as loan that they are using 272,000 barrels of crude oil every day to pay for the loan? What did they do with that money? That money did not hit the Federation account. It did not. You say you paid that money to service JV cash calls. You paid that money to service cost oil production for production sharing contracts. Where is the oil? Where is the money? This is the corruption that goes on in there that makes Nigerians not to benefit from the crude oil that God has blessed them with. Why is this happening? Government policy. Let nobody fool anybody that the reason why fuel is now selling for 1,400 naira, 1,500 naira per liter in some places in Nigeria today is because of US attack on Iran, the blockage of the Strait of Mulls, the increase in the price per barrel of crude oil on the international market. No. It is because the bad policies of the Tinubu administration has allowed for corruption within the NNPC that allowed some people to take away crude oil that's supposed to benefit all of us for the benefit of a few. Everything starts and ends with government policies. So instead of wasting time going to church to pray, we should focus that energy to chase away these bad leaders that are implementing terrible, satanic government policies. And how can we do that? Free and fair elections. And when I talk free and fair elections, many people quickly make a mistake. They think that free and fair election is the sole responsibility of INEC. Somehow some people believe that, oh, we just need to get the Electoral Act right, and then we must protest and INEC must do the right thing. Free and fair elections is not only the responsibility of INEC. It is the responsibility of citizens. And that is why we are saying we cannot leave free and fair elections to INEC alone. No. If we do that, we will suffer the glitch of 2023 in a more refined form in 2027. So how can we have free and fair elections? Project Eagles, not the one of the NNPC. In fact, particularly, Vote Watch and PU Marshals. Vote Watch and PU Marshal. If you want to know more about Vote Watch and PU Marshal, click the link in the description of this video. Check out the site. Visit www.votewatch.pro. Sign up as a PU Marshal, and then you will see how Vote Watch together with PU Marshal will make rigging the 2027 election an impossibility. I won't say more than that. We don't need all Nigerians to do it. We just need a few Nigerians that are patriotic. Will you be part of those Nigerians? I hope so. But at the end of the day, you must understand, you must realize that if Nigeria is going to be better, it starts and ends with government policies.